What if the most powerful way to defeat a narcissistic power structure isn't to fight harder, but to stop participating in the hierarchy altogether? The moment you stop seeking permission from the person who positioned themselves above you, the entire psychological structure begins to lose its foundation. Let's call this divine defiance. Not revenge, not retaliation, not trying to destroy another human being. Divine defiance is the refusal to surrender your autonomy, dignity, attention, or identity to someone else's attempt to control you. And this is where the so-called chosen one archetype becomes powerful. Not because chosen people are magically immune to manipulation, but because the archetype represents someone who recognizes my authority over myself does not require your agreement. Narcissistic manipulation often depends upon a hierarchy. I define reality. You defend yourself, I provoke you. You react, I accuse you. You explain, I destabilize you. You chase clarity. Notice the pattern. The person at the top of the psychological hierarchy gets to define the rules of engagement. Your greatest disruption isn't necessarily confronting them, it's withdrawing your participation from the game. When you stop over-explaining, you remove their access to endless arguments. When you stop reacting impulsively, provocation loses its payoff. When you establish boundaries and consistently enforce them, manipulation becomes less effective. When you document objectively rather than obsessively, facts become more useful than emotional battles. When you stop trying to convince everyone of your worth, their approval loses its value. And when you refuse to let another person's behavior dictate your identity, they lose one of the most important forms of psychological leverage, your attention. That is the deeper meaning of divine defiance. You're not saying, I will destroy you. You're saying, you no longer determine who I become. And that's where the illusion of power begins to collapse. Because manipulative power often appears enormous when you're measuring it by how much emotional energy it can extract from you. But remove the reaction, remove the obsession, remove the need to prove yourself, remove the automatic compliance, and suddenly the supposed power structure looks very different. The narcissistic archetype wants you trapped inside their narrative. Divine defiance says, I choose my own narrative. But here's the part people need to understand. Don't turn this into spiritual warfare where every disagreement becomes evidence that someone is attacking you. That's another trap. Discernment requires distinguishing between observable behavior and interpretation. You don't need supernatural explanations to recognize manipulation. Look for concrete patterns, repeated boundary violations, coercion, deception, intimidation, gaslighting, exploitation, attempts to isolate you, punishment when you assert independence. Those behaviors can be addressed through boundaries, documentation, support systems, and appropriate legal or professional channels when necessary. That is real power. And here's the ultimate lesson of the hero's journey. The hero doesn't become powerful because the antagonist disappears. The hero becomes powerful because the antagonist no longer controls the hero's direction. That's sovereignty. Your divine essence, whether you understand that spiritually, psychologically, or symbolically, is not something another person gets to possess. They can challenge your confidence, they can test your boundaries, they can misunderstand you, they can attempt to manipulate you, but they cannot author your identity unless you hand them the pen. So stop fighting for a seat inside a hierarchy you were never required to accept. Build your own standards, build your own boundaries, build your own evidence, build your own support network, build your own purpose, and most importantly, build a life that doesn't require your antagonist to change before you can move forward. That's divine defiance, not destruction, liberation. The ultimate power move isn't becoming better at playing the narcissist's game. It's realizing you don't have to play it. Your attention is valuable. Your boundaries are sacred. Your identity belongs to you. Your future does not require their permission. Don't destroy the person. Destroy the psychological hierarchy that convinced you they had authority over your identity. If you've experienced a journey where you had to reclaim your voice, boundaries, confidence, or sense of self, share one lesson your antagonist unintentionally taught you. I reclaim my authority. And that chosen one's is Alchemy.In.Motion. Then share this with someone who is learning that self-sovereignty is more powerful than retaliation. Be sure to like, share, and follow your tribe of alchemists.